The Twilight of the Blobs, authored by James Howard Kunstler via kunstler.com. Respect the blob, learn from the blob, and love the blob. H.G. Wells concocted a marvelous trick ending to his classic tale, The War of the Worlds, 1897. Remember, the colossal Martian tripod fighting machines swarm all over the planet, zapping cities with heat rays, and it looks like all is lost. But finally, the darn things just quit marching, stop zapping, and stand down. The alien protoplasms at the controls, surprise ending, turn up dead and rotting inside from the action of our tiny invisible aliens, the Earth's one-celled disease-causing bacteria, to which the Martians, blobs, creatures have no immunity. The Gaian overtones in that story resounds today as we Earthlings devise ingenious new methods to wreck terrestrial life, including ourselves. The planet seems to have some technological drive to save itself, a kind of immune system. Notice, in all the ongoing debates about the wonders and dangers of AI and Bitcoin and suffocating surveillance, nobody ever talks about the sketchy condition of the electric grid that all these worrisome phenomena utterly rely on. In our chatter over peak oil, there's little awareness of oil production utter dependence on steady capital flows. In all the guff about centralized control emitted by Klaus Schwab in his World Economic Forum, there is no mention of the centrifugal forces driving human affairs to relocalization, disaggregation of large states, and downscaling of many activities. In our zeal to become gods, we miss a lot. Imagine Bitcoin shoots up to $1 million. You're a zillionaire. Oh, somewhere outside Zanesville, Ohio, a squirrel takes a final chaw through some old insulation on the wire coming out of the transformer. His head blows up in the blue arc flash, and in a few seconds all the electricity goes out from Chicago to Boston. And it turns out that 17 situations in 10 states have blown relays, transformers, and switchgear. Some of those components were 40 years old and are now manufactured 12,000 miles away in a country that does not like us anymore. The replacement parts get held up in a Chinese port. The power does not come back on for weeks. Nobody who lives in eastern US can get to his Bitcoin wallet, which is just a virtual entity made of computer code residing in a digital cloud, hence nowhere real. Of course, in an event that bad, a lot of other things would fail. Really, just about everything that compromises modern life. But for sure, you could kiss your Bitcoin goodbye, perhaps forever, because by the time the juice comes back on, even if it does, nobody will ever again want to invest their wealth in digital money, quote unquote, that they can't access, and Bitcoin will go back to where it came from, to zero. And likewise, the financial system we depend on is a gigantic apparatus grown extremely janky from over-elaboration and hyper-complexity, to the degree that all kinds of things donated as having moneyness are simply hallucinations of the markets that trade them. How many quadrillions of dollars do derivative financial instruments represent on the landscape of money these days? Most of these things amount to little more than bets that some number, an interest rate, a currency, a revenue flow, will change either up or down. That is, they are figments. Under modern money theory, MMT, the evolution of figments can theoretically go on forever. Derivatives can be even more abstracted from what they purport to represent until they fly up the system's cloacal vent. MMT has become popular economic dogma, but its theory remains to be substantiated. Since the formula relies on the unlimited printing of money by central bank proxies for governments, you might bet that something will go wrong with such a system. And it kind of looks like something is about to go wrong in the system we've built for regulating and distributing capital. And do we need to state what capital is? Real wealth, not figments, wishes, bets, and hallucinations. Hard things like good land, ore pockets, installed machinery, railroad tracks, and so on. Bitcoin has gone Hockey stick, and the past month, hockey stick, meaning that on chart, the move up looks nearly vertical. Do you know what's going on? Why it's going on? I'll tell you. It's going up because it's going up. People and groups of people, wealth funds, banks, see the uptrend and deduce that Bitcoin is going to the moon. Meanwhile, they view the tea leaves of the currency scene and see a lot of brown, crummy debris where there used to be capital. The money itself is losing its moneyness all over the place. The most vulnerable module of the system now is the bond market. The bond market is based on the idea that borrowed money will be reliably paid back, the key word there being reliably. One crucial condition, though, is that money has to stay money. People have to regard it as possessing value, and now all kinds of money is visibly losing value. Approaching the $35 trillion mark in our national debt, there is reason to doubt that the USA can plausibly pay off its debt, or even service it anymore, that is, paying interest on it. The more money we print under MMT, the more value the money loses. The interest rate on the borrowed money has to go up to compensate for the loss of value, and all of a sudden you're borrowing a shit ton of money to pay the interest on the money you owe, the gross value of which is only increased, moving rapidly towards critical oh-ho. Many sentient beings viewing the scene warn us that the bond market is liable to blow, and with it most of the other modules in the current MMT-driven system. And that will be the magic moment when a big theory gets disproven rather than vividly and injuriously. The price of everything will vaporize in a mushroom cloud of malinvestment, and when the dust settles, which might take a long time, everything will be priced differently, including many things at zero. This is the kind of world we're in now, and all this is why I don't worry quite so much about the machinations of the various blobs that have self-assembled to defend their particular special interests while doing harm to many of us. The military-industrial blob, the censorship blob, the fake news blob, the intel blob, the corporate monopoly blob, the medical blob, the central banking blob. The systems we depend on to make all these blobbish functions are looking pretty ill, like they're not going to be working a whole lot longer. The result would be a beneficial timeout from blobbery. I'll venture to predict that it will be a rather long time out. A lot of the scary things going on around us, tyrannizing us, stripping our assets and our freedom, will not find their footing easily in the aftermath, perhaps never again. We'll have decades, maybe centuries, to think about the hubris that brought all of that on, and in the meantime, we'll have to live the earthly life as the earth allows and abide with it, and maybe dote on some new dreams of what a perfect world would be like. And this is by James Howard Kunster via Kunster.com on Zero Hedge. Please leave your comments. Thank you for your support. Kindly support my Patreon account. The daily posts are 5 videos daily, and they are totally different from what I have on my YouTube channel. Thank you so much for your support and that you find all my content so interesting. You'll find the Patreon account details in the description box below.